Aloha, and thank you for joining Wisdom Dialogues with Hope Johnson, coming to you from the beautiful Big Island of Hawaii. Thank you so much for joining. So what's been coming up a lot lately is this idea that there's a pressure because of time, that we have pressure because of time. And here's the way it's been coming to me in a way that might point to the truth for you. Remember, nothing that I say is actually the truth. It's just pointing for you, for your inner teacher. So the way it's been coming to me in my mind's eye is that time is like the light, like a light in a projector, in a movie projector. And space is the images changing on the screen. The way we normally see it is backward. It's like space is this real thing that we actually walk through, that we move through, that we drive through, fly through, whatever. But it's arising like picture frames. Even if we have an appointment at a certain time, it's arising like picture frames, even whether we arrive early or late. There's nothing we can do about it. All that's happening is an interpretation of energy. Life is flowing as an interpretation of energy. So instead of following ideas that worry about whether we might be late for an appointment or late for a deadline or anything like that, we can take comfort and relax. Because the interpretation of energy is happening automatically. But if we're resistant to it, afraid, nervous, shameful, worried, then the concepts can't coalesce in a way that will make us to make choices that lead to more joy. And I say make us make choices. Because from the place of consciousness where we're perceiving a dream world, we don't make those choices. We are made to make those choices. All of the possible choices have been pre-written by us. All of the possible roads. And it could be said that they're infinite. It's not something that the mind can grasp, but it could be said that those roads are infinite. And every apparent choice that we seem to make on the surface is leading toward whatever experience is necessary for us to awaken from delusional belief systems. So there's never a wrong choice. And the only choice there ever is to make is to see through the illusion instead of believing it. It only takes a willingness to see through. Even while believing in something that's painful, something that feels upsetting, even just a willingness, even just I'm willing to admit that I'm wrong about this. It opens up like a doorway or some space, you could say. It opens up some space. You know, if that's true, if that's your desire, if that's your highest desire, see, what happens is there's putting worldly desires before the one desire, making worldly desires more important. And I can give you an example of that. Say it seems like you need to get some kind of benefit from a person. You know, you're afraid that they don't do what they said they were going to do. It will maybe it'll ruin your life, something like that. So it's an idea that you need to get something in order to be happy. Not seeing clearly is not noticing that everything that's arising is for your greater joy. As soon as it's seen through, as soon as it's seen that it is an illusion, whatever it is that's being believed, it's not unconscious anymore. And you'll notice it more the next time it comes around. All that's asked is willingness. Because you can't do the seeing either. But we can't be receptive to the energy of our source if we're believing that we might be vulnerable to something that is in the dream world. Okay, that includes another person, that includes feeling threatened, you know. People have asked me before, well, what about locking the door? Here's the thing with something like that. The act of locking the door in itself isn't anything. You can say that everything that's arising on the surface, everything you seem to be doing, it's actually meaningless, but it's symbolic of a thought. So, you know, for me, it's like we live in a house with I have a husband and some kids, and people like to have the door locked in the house. So whenever I find myself being the one locking the door, which isn't terribly often actually, it's once a week or so, but just going up there and noticing what's expected to be protected from. And recognizing that there's no way that anything in the world can actually provide that kind of protection. I mean, sure, it may show evidence of on the surface, oh, if you lock your door, you have this much less chance of, I don't know, being murdered, robbed, or whatever. Well, the thing is, everything is an energetic experience. So the experience of robbery, the experience of murder, isn't really what we make it. This is an interpretation of energy. The experience of it is an interpretation of energy. It isn't really what we make it. That means that even as this apparent thing seems to be happening, if there's willingness to see through it, there could be communication. There's an opportunity for communication. There's an opportunity to for healing, no matter what the circumstances. And in that kind of healing, it generates everywhere. When there's willingness to accept that kind of healing, that kind of deep healing and communication can come through, even in the direst of perceptions, okay, there's hope, you could say, for seeing through, So in the moment where there's like, no, I don't want that. I definitely don't want murder. I definitely don't want my house to be broken into. Definitely don't want that. If I get that, that would be bad. All of that comes with a feeling. It's not the thing itself. And, you know, that's what I mean when I say what you're perceiving is meaningless. What you're afraid of is meaningless. What you seem to be afraid of, that's meaningless. Because right now, in this moment, when that kind of situation, when the locking the door happens, it's like there's this unconscious believing that this is some sort of protection. And just noticing that. It's not trying to get rid of the belief even. Okay? Because it's an unconscious kind of universal type of belief. Just noticing what it is. It's similar to taking medicine, you know. Say you're taking, I don't know, blood pressure medicine or something like that, or supplements, you know, anything like that. And the idea that I need this supplement so that I can, that doesn't mean that you don't take the supplement or whatever. These things aren't your choice. These things are arising for the benefit of all, which is you, of joy for all. You know, is basically for receiving joy through a perception, receiving that inner joy through a perception, allowing it to shine through, and that's how it's shared. That's how it's shared with everyone in your perception. If you'll notice, when you get into a conversation where the energy starts getting tense, there's a certain sort of energy in the body you can sense where there's some tension in the body, and that you'll sense the tension in the one person's body be triggered, and then the other body be triggered, and then it'll go up like that until it will get louder and louder, and the tempo will get higher like that. So when one person even just notices that that's going on and is willing to surrender whatever it is that's keeping them in a state of conflict, communication can happen. True communication can happen. And then walls are broken down. And see, here's the thing. Thoughts are also like people, and people are a collection of thoughts, but thoughts themselves seek life. Okay, they seek to live. They have a desire to expand, but they have no life of their own. They have no life of their own. You give them life like that. You give them life, or not, or be open to seeing it differently. It takes your belief to feed them. It takes your believing in them to feed them. If there's no believing in them, then they have no power over you. And it's only because they seem to have power over anyone that people are made to make choices that lead to tough lessons. See? Now, some people will say it's just one tough lesson after another. And that's the thing. The lesson does tend to get tougher and tougher because it's meant to show the way. It's meant to show the way. Whatever you're willing to see from your state of consciousness right now. Whatever you're willing to receive, however much love you're willing to see through the perceptions that are arising right now. Whatever you're willing to surrender right now. And it's unlimited. It's unlimited how much love is available. As soon as it's allowed to kind of embrace the one that's feeling any upset, you know, that compassion that comes from the core within is allowed to embrace what's feeling any upset, there's healing. And that automatically reflects in the apparent choices in the apparent lifetime. The lessons get easier. The lessons become fun. They become amusing. They're not so hard. It's not like feeling a punch to the face or a slap or anything like that. It's so gentle. The only thing that makes it hard is this commitment to believing that we're separate. That makes it seem difficult. And you know, the process is kind of like giving birth to yourself. I've heard it said that way, but you know, I could really sense that because there's the pain of the contractions of these thoughts that are painful, that we've been believing our whole lives, and they define who we are. And to realize and to recognize, wow, I've had a choice the whole time. There's been a choice the whole time. And there's nothing wrong with any of the ways that have been chosen before, because they all led up to this moment, to where it's possible to perceive exactly what's necessary to let go of suffering and receive the joy that's already here. See? If anyone has any questions for me, I'd love to hear them. I'd love to dialogue with you. That would be sweet. I'm not sure how to turn the audio off for the computer. You get little dings and stuff. I see a hand, a holy, holy hand. Oh, there we go again. Fun. Aloha.
Aloha, Hope in Hawaii.
Hey, thank you for joining.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
It was a real pleasure listening to you just now. It's always on point, as usual.
Oh, wonderful. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Me too. Me too.
Yay! This is one of those fun and soft and gentle lessons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been wondering.
Yeah.
So, again, I understand everything theoretically, and I'm open to seeing how the things that I perceive as painful are because I believe thoughts, that are just thoughts, right? Like any other thoughts, and they're not necessarily true.
They're not true.
Yeah, they're not true.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're not, there's no necessarily in there.
If I can't get rid of the feeling, not all the time, of course, because feelings are never all the time, but this one is persistent, of bitterness at my own life for not having certain things happen. And, the conventional, or what I call conventional methods of saying, like, well, you could be grateful for this and that, because, yeah, I am grateful for this and that. It's all, I have a lot of other awesome stuff in my life, really awesome. But somehow that doesn't help the bitterness over the things that I didn't have. And I'm still bitter. And I got tired of hoping for them too, which it's correct. Right. I mean, we don't want to put this hope in the future, not knowing what will happen. But I feel there's something wrong with just that sense of bitterness. How do I see that is wrong too, or am I, or is it okay to allow yourself to grieve?
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that feeling of bitterness. I mean, one way to look at it is that it's a scared child. Bitterness is basically ignorance, okay? And that doesn't mean that you are ignorant. It can't ever mean that. You can't be that. Can't be anything. So it's just ignorance arising, and the ignorance is like a scared little child. Okay, so that's why there's this dissatisfaction feeling, and this hoping for something different. It's like something has gone wrong. It's a belief that something has gone wrong and it needs to be fixed. So the bitterness isn't a problem. It's just met with understanding, and that understanding comes from being there with the bitterness and being there with the thoughts that say, I want this bitterness to go away. Because that also is coming with the feeling, I want this bitterness to go away. Instead of enjoying the bitterness, it's like that, it needs to be expressed. And I'm not saying that it needs to be expressed as in go up to people and tell them, I'm bitter at you because you are this. Because that's not true. That's not making any sense. I'm saying enjoy the bitterness and let it express itself inside of your energy field. You can sense it. You can sense it with your energy field, and it can be like a kind of like an old friend, an old friend that you're welcoming. Make it very loving and soft, and maybe take a bath with it.
Yeah, that sounds better, because I noticed that if somebody tries to help me reinterpret it as, oh, this is wrong because that bitterness gets, let's say, that scared little child gets really mad. Like, what are you giving me this instead of that, or trying to trick me or whatever? I know what I wanted, not this,
Yeah, and that child energy will be so loud, you'll never have peace. It has to, it has to be expressed, and it's just a matter of letting it be exactly as it is, just letting that feeling be exactly as it is, and noticing the whatever wants to change it or anything like that. All that's arising is ignorance. All that's arising is ignorance. It's arising before you. The rising in your view, in your perception. The ignorance is in your perception. It's not your own voice.
Yeah.
Okay? Your voice can only speak the truth. Your voice can only come from the heart that knows the truth. And it's true because you could feel that sense of relief. There's a sense of relief. And like I said before, it's not in the words. What words give a sense of relief for one person may be different for another, but it's a sense of relief that's not based on any kind of circumstances or anything working out or anything like that. The kind of relief you get when something works out, maybe you were tense about it, you were afraid it might go wrong and it seemed to go right. That kind of relief, that's the kind of relief that sets up its opposite to come back around. It's not really valuable. So even when that kind of relief arises, that sense of relief in the body, just noticing where it's coming from, what it's based on, just noticing that allows some healing to happen.
The relief that's based on circumstances, right? That's
Yes.
not the
Yeah, because that's not the order of things. That's not the true order of things. Joy doesn't come from what's experienced on the surface. Joy comes from the connection within, and then the surface is a reflection. It's not, it's like we understand it backwards. So that's why there's a sense of relief when something it's like, what is it that's being relieved when something goes right, and what is it then being stressed when something goes wrong, and who is it that's interpreting these things as right and wrong? When we already can understand that there's not a choice.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a choice here.
I
You
was
can
talking
notice. Go ahead.
that how the things that what interprets things is none of it is, well, let's say authentic, because all of it is learned from whatever
Yeah.
came before us.
That's exactly it. And see, it's like we set up this whole lifetime. We set up this whole lifetime to have certain choices at certain places and different things like that, to see certain things, to perceive certain things, to have certain challenges. Not necessarily, not exactly as, we experience them as a material thing, but to have that energetic experience, to have that sensation, to ride that ride of that kind of fear or whatever it happens to be. So none of it can possibly go wrong. And in noticing that, just the anxiety that relieves, that is a lighter, is a finer frequency. And from that lighter and finer frequency, different choices are made. Different apparent choices are made on the surface, too. Apparent choices that lead to more joy, laughter, fun, instead of apparent choices that lead toward misery.
Mm-hmm.
Unhappy relationships is one example of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why do all these kinds of people that I relate with like this keep on coming into my experience?
Or more like, it was like more like blaming myself and my own choices, because every time I would see that nobody forced me into it, and I really got myself into it step by step, one foot after another, and it's just like, why did I do that? That kind of thing. Or why am I made this way? Sort of. Why was I, at one point, was I so, there was such an urge to do that I couldn't resist it. And why do I have to suffer for being that way? I didn't make myself that way,
Yeah, you don't have to suffer. That's the thing. And in any moment, you can choose through the circumstances to the truth of what is.
Mm-hmm.
And through choosing consistently with the truth, with what's true about you, then the frequency changes. The body's frequency, basically the body is only a projection. It's a projection of frequency. We're interpreting the energy, and that's what we're seeing there.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also sensing the body. The body is able to, through the body, we're able to sense these energy fluctuations.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where everything is happening. It's really happening from a place outside of time and space, and it's projected through these energy sensations. We're all part of this one big energy soup. And we're the whole soup at the same time. The apparent part is only a perceiving. It's like a perceiving construct. Let's say like that.
It's a little bit like the collective unconsciousness, right? Or the collective unconscious, what they call, like in Jungian terms. I don't know.
Collective. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like we're always exchanging energetic vibration. And in every moment when we're communicating with each other, we're always acting as teachers for each other, no matter what age or anything.
Mm-hmm.
We're always teachers for one another. And we're always teaching through demonstrating, not through what we're saying, but through demonstrating. We're teaching either everlasting life or this death illusion. We're teaching one or the other through everything, through all of life's particulars, through how we demonstrate. If it's like, wow, I feel really upset right now, it must be because of you. I feel annoyed right now, it must be because of you.
Oh, yeah.
Or even just thinking.
What's that? So tricky.
Yeah. Even just thinking that thing is annoying is an attack on yourself, because it's saying that thing has some kind of power to make you feel annoyed.
Oh God, yes.
So I find myself. What's that?
And yet some things are still annoying, I have to admit.
Well, you know what? What you're admitting is a lie.
Keep feeling come from I'm listening to, let's say, a podcast, and this one podcast just starts annoying me to death. Like, I want to strangle the people that are doing it, and like I just can't listen to this anymore.
Well, that might be a fine time. That might be a fine time to experience whatever is resistance is coming up. Instead of projecting it, because as long as you're projecting it, you're making this real. So if I find myself projecting, I might not turn that show off right now. If I find myself projecting, I might sit and experience this sense for as long as I feel motivated to.
Interesting, yeah.
Because that's really.
I'm turning this off. I don't want this anymore.
Yeah, as everything is bringing it up for you. And I had a reaction to feeling annoyed just a couple of days ago. It really stands out to me because it's so infrequent. It's probably, I don't even know how long it's been, but I felt really hot. All of a sudden I was really, really hot. And I was in the car, and just the way I reached for the keys and turned on the ignition, noticing that there was no grace in that. Like, I was just like, oh my God, get me out of the heat.
Yeah, you get this you become so angular and jerky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just stop and laugh at it. It's fine. As
Mhm.
long as these things are being seen and not just going unconscious. Like you get home and you know, how was your day? Oh, it was so hot. I just didn't care. See, it's like things aren't allowed to pass because it seems like, and you know, a lot of the times it's just unconscious. It would go unrecognized, you know, it would go unrecognized for people. This kind of, oh my God, get me out of this anxiety. I just felt my body move with anxiety. I felt my body move with anxiety.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. And it's not the movement itself in particular, whether it's fast or slow. Could go fast, but I could just, you know, you could sense it when your body's moving through anxiety or when your voice is speaking through anxiety.
Mhm.
I've even been able to sense it and then it's still going, even in words. Seen the words still going, even the motion, I've seen the motion still going, you know.
So
So
you're
it's like
saying that's pretty much what you do. You stay with it that way for as long as you feel like it, but you really let yourself experience it without judgment, whatever, right? And just observe it, whatever you call it.
exactly. Like, and sometimes it's for longer periods of time. Like for one period of time, I found myself being led to get into business with a business partner that I could just sense from the beginning that there was some kind of an energy to the whole situation, that it was kind of gonna not gonna unfold I guess in an easeful way. But anyways, even sensing that there was, you know, the movement was just taking place. The movement was going. So there's just going, being present with it, not trying to make excuses, not trying to tell myself why it's right that I do this or anything like that. Just being completely present with it and noticing that the circumstances can change and being open for having the circumstances change at any time. And you know, it's like I know that if I'm leading myself on any apparent path, there's a lot of lessons there for me, which are the same as blessings, which is the same as discovery. You know, we don't need to get caught up with we need to learn something or anything, but it's like discovering more joy. It's an opportunity to, I see anything like that as an opportunity to discover more joy. You know,
Mhm.
I went down a path with a naturopathic doctor who diagnosed me with something and said you're close to dying and all this other stuff. And you know, I'm in there, and even when I'm filling out the form, I'm kind of like, what am I even doing here filling out the form? I'm like, this is it. This is such a world where it's showing all these delusional teachings, delusional teachings. Well,
Mhm.
you're this because of this level, you're close to death, and then because you're close to death, you need these nutrients to come back, and so you take them and you do it. I'm like, okay, let's do it, you know, laughing and stuff, and just having fun with it too at the same time, and doing all of those, and see, you know, watching the story of me doing all of those, and watching also judgments coming up, like, you know, why do you need this kind of stuff, and just relaxing with everything, whatever it is, and watching, noticing that, and none of the choices are being made from consciousness. These
Mhm.
are paths that we're leading ourselves on. So all there is relaxation. And you know, for me in that experience, what transpired is some extreme discomfort with everything that I was taking, and then and then and then all of a sudden a very clear answer. This is over. Stop digging everything and fast for 6 weeks, and then everything's back to energy.
Mhm. Mhm. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And everything's just back to harmony. Let's say it like that. Everything is I could sense it in the moment. I could sense it in the moment the journey was embarked on to go through and act like I have this thing, this diagnosed thing, and try to cure it. It's sense that. It's almost like a sense of like going into darkness. It's really interesting. And then as soon as it came to me that I'm off of this ride, it was like a sense of it's almost the whole process is kind of almost like giving birth.
Mm. Mm.
And it's whatever we seem to be going through, that's only for that awe. The awe is so great. We know that the awe is so great that it's worth all of this illusory stuff that seems to be a problem, hateful, bad, wrong, all that stuff. It's worth perceiving all of this. It's that good.
Mm.
Okay?
Mhm.
We know the relief is that good. Okay,
Mhm.
it's worth
Mhm.
it. It's
Mhm.
worth it. And we start to experience in our own lives where we start to see that things get more easeful. Things that used to seem to be bothersome aren't so bothersome anymore. And also things are working out. Concepts are coming together, and what needs to play out is obviously playing out by itself. It always was. It just might have looked a little bit more chaotic
Mhm.
before
Mhm.
because it was a misperception based on misbelief. See, only
Mhm.
the perception is changing. Only the perception is being healed. You
Mhm.
know, the outer world is only a representation of all of the reactions that have gone before. So
Hmm.
as we calm down, it could be said the world calms down.
Yeah, definitely.
Isn't that lovely? It
Yeah.
certainly does right around us. Certainly
Yep.
does right around us.
That's why that's the only way to help anything in the world. Otherwise, unfortunately, and it's very hard to explain it to anybody, that any attempt to improve the world, to lessen an evil or, to stand for the good, and if it's
Yeah.
not done from this state of mind or consciousness within you, ultimately it just produces more of the same, just in a different form. But
Yeah. So
that's hard for people to accept, and it's very tricky too, because people go, wait a minute, but this person has done that, or those people did that, and if you look at it, it looks like, yes, it's something really bad and evil and something that caused somebody suffering, but I still sense that all of that is still a trick as far as rising up against that.
it is. It's a trick, and and all of the
It's very
circumstances are chosen.
tempting too. Sorry,
What?
it's so tempting too, because you feel like I mean, it would be immoral if I didn't stand on the side of somebody who is oppressed or wronged or abused.
Yeah.
That's why it's so tempting.
Well, it's like you're on everyone's side because there's only one of us here.
Hmm.
There's a, there's no multiplicity. That's only an illusion. So it's like there's no one whose side you're on, not on. You're on everyone's side, and everyone is on your side.
Mm-hmm.
Say you take a situation where you have like a murderer situation. The way that Akashic records people are seeing, they look at past lives. The way they see it is you guys are switching places throughout different lifetimes. Like one plays the murderer and one plays the victim throughout different lifetimes.
I
And
feel
and
that
it's like
that it's almost like you can't talk about that publicly very much.
no, because there's a very strong, the ego has a very strong um, alliance in consciousness. Let's say it's an alliance in consciousness to keep this hidden. Because if we don't have anyone to blame for stuff, then the whole illusion will be blown. I mean, what would you do? I could see jails and prisons turning into more like a wellness retreat where they're reminded of how wonderfully benevolent they are and how they chose this experience
Yeah, I
from
was
from a level outside of time and space, guilt free.
yeah, I was just talking to someone about that just yesterday and day before yesterday, how the whole experience of incarceration in the
Yes,
world as it is today anywhere is
yes,
a completely atrocious thing. And
yeah,
I time may come when we'll outlive it, just like in the past it was okay to like have public executions, and I mean in most of the world it was totally fine, right? And all kinds of torture and things like that were perfectly fine because it was like, yeah, that's what you do. That's what you get. You get impaled or something for this, or
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be seen that it's not necessary. It'll
mhm.
be seen because everyone is destined to see through the illusion. Everyone will see through the illusion. These all these different twists and turns and meanders around these different ways before seeing the illusion. That's up to you how many of those twists and turns that you have the desire to take from outside of time and space.
Kind of for the sake of the story, or why? Or there's no why.
Whatever it takes to see through.
Mm.
Because in losing apparently losing the physical body and entering the death realm, it's like there's a much wider perspective. There's a much broader perspective.
Uh-huh.
But that energy field, that microcosm of consciousness, is still perceiving illusions. Now it's perceiving an illusion of death. It's perceiving a lot more. There's a lot more understanding. There's a lot more understanding in the death space. Let's call it the death space just for fun. I don't know. And there's a lot more understanding about why certain relationships came together, how you chose to come together like that, and there's all kinds of peace and forgiveness and understanding, but there's still a sense of separation. There's still a sense of separation until that's healed. There's not transcending even the death realm. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The life and death realm is just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and through the experience. So from the broader perspective, there's not that in the moment opportunity for that healing to occur. There's just all knowledge of everything and why it occurred.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. But there's still a sense of separation, and that's why there's still a desire to play out that sense of separation.
To outlive something, right? Or to live
To play,
something out.
to
That's
live
what,
it to live
to
it
live it
out,
out.
and in living it out, however many times it takes, it eventually is demonstrated to your mind that the core belief is untrue. It's make believe. The core belief is not true. Once once that's seen, then that illusion isn't necessary anymore. That's how the veil gets thinned. There's fewer illusions are necessary. Fewer thoughts are necessary throughout the day.
Yeah, but these, like the desire to live something out, it sort of exists without much of your will. It's just there. Like,
Yeah, yeah, and from the state of consciousness, it seems, in the consciousness, in the illusion, it seems as if we're actually in this body operating it. But that's not how it is. We're not in the body operating the body. The
mm-hmm.
body is in our perception, and it's being operated by unconscious thought patterns, unconscious mind.
Yeah, God, it's a zombie. I just.
Yeah, and all that it's for is to experience that which needs to be experienced.
Mm-hmm.
That's all the body is for. And we think it's for something else. We think it's for getting us happiness, or getting us money, or getting the body in a certain kind of form that we might feel less guilty about. Whatever.
Or achieving something, or doing something good for the world, or for yourself, or
Yeah.
experiencing something you want to experience.
Yes, and the body is for the experience that it's arising in this moment, so that it could be experienced right now. And so that illusions of separation, beliefs in separation, can be seen through. If you see through the illusion, you could see to the belief. The illusion is sort of like a distraction. If there's willingness to see through the illusion, then you can see to the belief. One example is, say someone murdered your sister, okay? And I say that loosely. I say that loosely because it's not like someone can do something to another person like that. It looks like that. It appears to be that way, but it's not one bit true. The sister and the murderer, they are equals. They're totally equal in this. They're equal in this dance. Okay?
That's
So
again
to hold any kind of
yeah.
what's that?
Again, that's something you can't explain to a lot of people, I think, or publicly. That's so difficult.
That's why I have wisdom dialogues. The people who want to hear it, come on. I don't mind if anyone wants to hear it. It doesn't matter to me. See, the thing about it's difficult for people to hear. That's just because there's this drive to get other people to understand. It's sort of like a smoke screen to prevent you from seeing that your understanding is being challenged right now. Your understanding is being challenged.
Yeah.
It seems
yeah.
the other person doesn't understand. That's where it's at, right there.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh, I know this. I know this. It used to be that I was into certain things, and I remember how passionate I was about explaining it to people and how upset I got over how somebody didn't get it. And then later, all of those beliefs, I would challenge myself, and they would fall apart.
Yeah.
And I would look back at what I did and go, my God, everybody who tries to prove things to people or show something desperately, it's because they doubted themselves.
Exactly. Yes, that's exactly. And I learned the same thing through the same kind of experience. Finally, I realized that all this passion was driven toward, you guys are fucking idiots. Why don't you guys see? And it's like those guys aren't there. It's like that. That's make believe. That's only made up. So it's like it's always turning the focus back inward.
Those guys are you.
And then
right.
What's that?
Those guys are you.
Yes, exactly. It's like we make that up to create the sense of separation. That is a feeling of separation. It's like somehow they're not on their right path. They need me to come along and give them the truth when they don't want it. It's funny. And it's like sometimes something might come out my mouth that someone doesn't think they want to hear, but there's not any kind of oh my God, how am I going to say it? Because I know I don't have to worry about that at all. In fact, I don't have to worry about anything, but it's like this idea that I'm doing it is the only thing that would make me feel like any kind of pressure or any kind of it's hard to get people to see this or anything like that. Feeling any kind of pressure. I mean, we all we have is this instant. All we have is to embrace any sense of pressure about anything that comes up about anything. Anxiety, any kind of anxiety, It's funny, I noticed, I was sharing with Akea the other day, I noticed whenever wisdom dialogues is coming up, whether it's online or in person, I started noticing I have to pee more often, like I have to pee. And then I noticed, oh my goodness, that's some anxiety coming up. And I don't really have to pee. It only seems like I do. And so I just started noticing whenever I feel like feel that, like it starts to come often, like not like regular, but start to feel that and notice, oh, that's just the anxiety, and let myself feel the anxiety and embrace that child that feels scared something might go wrong. And then I don't have to pee.
Yes. Oh.
Isn't that fun?
Or it helps a lot to have this outlook, this sort of vision that you're not really making your choices. You're making apparent choices, but it's not like that, because I used to have incredible anxiety over some choices in life. Some were fine, but some, it got ridiculous. It got to a circus. And when people told me, make a list of pros and cons, I would say, you don't understand. My list will never end. For every pro, I'll have a con. For every con, I'll have a pro. It will never stop.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
the
I
thing
was
is you can
agony over choices. Sorry.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, you could drop out anytime. So yeah, you have the choice to drop out of the game anytime. You don't have to play the game all the time.
Mm-hmm. I'm starting to get that now. That's much better than the weighing the pros and cons. That's
Good. Good.
always right.
Yeah, go get it. Go lay out on a hammock or something.
Yes, do something or do nothing. It's all whatever.
Yeah. Aloha, everyone. I love you. If anyone would like to speak with me, raise your hand. I love to dialogue with you. Anything that's on your mind, I'm happy to hear about it. Otherwise, it's me and Yulia.
Yeah, I know. Wondering, like, is it like all mine, mine?
Maybe not everyone's willing to be on YouTube too. And the thing is, people can type stuff in. If anything seems like it might be confusing, or you're even saying that was bullshit or whatever, feel free. It's no worry. I love you. Thank you. What else, Yulia? You got anything else?
Oh, I just blanked out for a moment. Just thinking, I went to see the eclipse. I went to see the eclipse. Thought about how silly that was, but fun. Like to the
Silly.
place with the full eclipse. Totally
Oh.
unnecessary, but incredibly fun.
It is fun. Yeah, I think I've shared about that before. How the stars line up for you.
I'm not sure you did, or maybe I haven't
It's
heard.
all it's all a symbol. It's all symbolic. See,
Hmm.
it's everything lines up. It's like it's and your horoscope or with the stars and everything like that. They change sporadically.
Hmm.
It's like there's this thing written out for the future, but then that changes sporadically, and that's entirely a symbol of changing dimensions.
Hmm. Yeah,
Isn't that fun?
I heard this one thing too that I like, that all symbolic systems work in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And but not necessarily that they're all have to be the same and all have to coincide or have some sort of um, correspondence between them. But they all work if you look at it. If you look at them.
Yes, yes, that's right. So it's not like, oh, this event happened, now it has this effect on me. It's like that event is that event itself doesn't have an effect on you. You are affecting the event.
Yeah, well, I know. No, it was really just really awesome.
You
I
want
wanted I wanted to experience that. I wanted to see what it's like, and I did, and
Yeah.
so many other people who found that exciting. And I was thinking, I mean, a lot of people were thinking, in the old days, people were terrified of eclipses, and now everybody thinks like, wow, it's a cool show. People clapped and hooted and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a huge party.
It is.
I
It's
got
so
to see a
exciting.
partial.
Oh my God, it's light during the day. Yay! Right?
Yeah. Well, I got to see it a little bit. Me and my son got to see it down at the warm pond.
Well, you
We have
saw
a,
a little bit. Hmm.
yeah, it was about a little bit after 6 in the morning here. So we saw a small kind, just like a little tiny corner of it.
Ah, mm.
It was
Well, you guys have a lot of awesome stuff in Hawaii.
awesome.
Get the
Warm
big
pond
trip.
and solar eclipse. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm not sure there's anything else. I give it a few more breaths, see if anyone wants to raise their hand, or if
Hmm.
Julia has anything else. Otherwise, yay. It's been a fun hour with you. I love you.
I love you too. We all love you. Whoever is there too, I'm sure too. I'll speak for everyone,
Yay.
whether you like it or
Oh,
not.
everyone loves you. There's only one of us here. Remember, there's only one of us.
Yes.
So it's all love. Whatever anyone seems to be doing, they're all loving each other.
Uh-huh.
It's all in agreement. It's all
Uh-huh.
in alignment.
That's neat. That's really
and,
cool.
the benefit of understanding that is that you're not attacking yourself. You're not
Mm-hmm.
using that perception as a way to make it seem like you're vulnerable to illusions. That that puts you back in the position where you really are as the one who has dominion over all illusions. So hooray!
It's still a great play. It's a really exciting
It's a
play.
great play. Yeah, it's so much fun. And that's the thing. It's meant to be fun. If it's not fun, it's only because of beliefs that have been taken as true. And if there's a willingness to start seeing what those beliefs are, and not just seeing them too, is there willingness to admit that we're wrong. And that's what I see is there's an unwillingness to admit that we're wrong. I see even people just use a person and go, no, that person is wrong. He needs to know that he's wrong. He needs to apologize. Uh, and,
Yes, or the perpetual desire to help somebody, like to help the children, because
yeah,
they're not living right and they're upsetting me, and it's not only because it's bad for me, it's bad for them, and I want to help, and that's painful too.
it's so cute. It's so sweet. Yay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Tuesdays at 3. Same link. I love you, everyone.
Thank you, Hope. Love you too.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Hui ho.